Nikki Glazer has been a prominent figure in the comedy world for years, known for her unapologetic humor and sharp wit. As a comedian who often participates in roasts and embraces the role of being the subject of comedic jabs, she has become accustomed to the sometimes brutal nature of the industry. However, in a recent appearance on the Run-Through with Vogue podcast, the 40-year-old comedian opened up about one particular moment in her career when a joke made by fellow comedian Pete Davidson left a lasting emotional impact on her. During the interview, Nikki reflected on a painful memory that involved Pete Davidson, the 31-year-old comedian and Saturday Night Live alum. She recounted a joke he made about her body years ago, specifically one that poked fun at her physique in a way that touched on her insecurities. In particular, Pete had cracked a joke about how she didn't have an ass. While the joke may have been intended as a playful roast, Nikki admitted that it hurt her deeply, and the impact of that joke still lingers with her to this day. This revelation highlights a raw and vulnerable side of Nikki Glazer that many may not often see in her public persona. Despite being a comedian known for her fearless approach to humor and her ability to take a joke, Nikki admitted that certain jokes, especially those that touch on personal insecurities, can have a far-reaching impact. Her honesty during the podcast shed light on the emotional toll that even a seemingly harmless remark can have, especially when it brings attention to something a person is already self-conscious about. At the core of Nikki's reflection is the idea that jokes about physical appearance, particularly body image, can hit much harder than they might seem on the surface. For someone who has spent years in the comedy world, Nikki has become familiar with the role of being roasted, as it's a common part of her professional life. However, she revealed that this particular joke from Pete Davidson left her feeling exposed and vulnerable. He had really thought about it, or maybe someone wrote the joke for him, and he didn't have to think about it at all, Nikki explained, contemplating the weight of the joke. But he at least had to be like, that works for her. It really hurt me. What made the joke particularly painful for Nikki was not just the fact that it was about her body, but the realization that someone she admired had consciously chosen to point out something that she had long struggled with privately. Body image is a deeply personal issue, and when someone else vocalizes a flaw or insecurity that you already feel about yourself, it can feel like a harsh confirmation of your worst fears. Nikki confessed that it wasn't just a fleeting comment for her. It was something that stuck with her and continued to affect her self-esteem in ways she hadn't anticipated. It really hurt me, she repeated, reflecting on how deeply the joke affected her. What makes Nikki's story even more poignant is the fact that she is a comedian who has built her career on making jokes at others' expense. In the world of comedy, especially in roast culture, harsh jokes are often seen as an accepted form of humor. Comedians are expected to be tough and resilient when it comes to handling insults, as their job often involves dishing out sharp quips and taking them in return. Yet, Nikki's experience serves as a reminder that even those who thrive in this environment can be hurt by jokes that target their vulnerabilities. This highlights the human side of comedy and the fact that comedians, too, have their own insecurities that can be exposed by the very humor that fuels their careers. Despite the emotional pain caused by Pete's joke, Nikki was quick to point out that she still loves comedy and understands the nature of roasting. In fact, she expressed that she has made peace with the situation over time. I still think about some of the jokes that have been made about me from roasts 6 years ago, and they still haunt me, Nikki said. This statement reveals just how long-lasting the effects of certain jokes can be. In the world of comedy, where humor is often based on exaggerating the flaws and idiosyncrasies of others, the lasting impact of these jokes is not always considered. Nikki's words are a reminder that jokes made in jest can have a lingering effect on a person's psyche, especially when they touch on something deeply personal. The pain from Pete Davidson's joke was not just about the immediate sting of the words. It was about the long-term emotional effects it had on Nikki's perception of herself. Even now, years later, when Nikki looks at herself in the mirror, she cannot help but see the reflection shaped by the words that were once said about her. The joke had unearthed insecurities that Nikki had tried to suppress, and those feelings continue to resurface whenever she thinks about it. I still see them when I look in the mirror, she admitted, illustrating how deeply the comment affected her self-image. What makes Nikki's experience even more significant is that it sheds light on the psychological effects of body shaming and how it can impact an individual's self-esteem, even in the face of humor. In her case, the joke didn't just make her question her physical appearance in the moment, it made her question her worth and her place in a world that often places so much value on physical appearance. By drawing attention to a feature she had already been insecure about, Pete's joke inadvertently reinforced her feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt. Nikki's honesty about the emotional toll of Pete's joke serves as an important reminder about the power of words, especially in the context of comedy. While humor can be a tool for connection and healing, it can also be a weapon that wounds and leaves lasting scars. For those who make a living by joking about others, it can be easy to forget the emotional impact these jokes can have on the people they target. Even in a roast, where harsh jokes are expected and accepted, there is still a human cost to humor that focuses on someone's vulnerabilities. The deeper takeaway from Nikki's story is that no one, not even a seasoned comedian, is immune to the effects of body-shaming jokes. While she has built a career on being the subject of jokes, she reminds us that she is still a person who has her own sensitivities and insecurities. The pain caused by Pete's joke is not something that Nikki has simply gotten over or forgotten. It continues to resonate with her to this day. This makes her experience a powerful reflection on the complexities of comedy, body image, and the lasting emotional effects of jokes that touch on personal insecurities. In the end, Nikki Glazer's candidness about how Pete Davidson's brutal joke about her body left her feeling shattered serves as an important conversation starter about the impact of comedy on mental health and self-esteem. While comedy can be a tool for healing and self-expression, it also has the power to hurt, especially when it shines a light on vulnerabilities that someone has spent years trying to hide. As Nikki's story reminds us, even in the world of roasts and jokes, we must be mindful of the lasting effects our words can have on others.